Namaskar. Welcome back into the next session of Shraddha and Pradnya. Today, I have very exciting menu for you. So let me get into it right away. This is Shraddha and Pradnya part 3. And as I have done in the past, I begin with some question from someone or some objection from someone who follows me either in social media or on YouTube, or somebody who follows other Mahabharata researchers, Ramayana researchers, Rigveda researchers. In general, we can say Indic researchers, and where they read something about my work and have additional questions for clarification, or may have an outright objection to what I might have claimed or what I might have said. So let's get into that. Again, the theme is Shraddha and Pradnya. Okay, think of Shraddha and Pradnya as the two rail tracks, and when it is properly balanced, then what we get is Bhagavad Gita's Sthita Pradnya. Also, in terms of our journey, in terms of understanding why these objections and questions arise, okay, this could be due to a conflict between a Pujya Buddhi, a pure Shraddha. When I say pure Shraddha, we like to think usually it's a pure, and we think of Shraddha in a positive light, and usually that's correct. That is the case. However, when Arjun brings up that subject in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna actually tells him that his assumption is not correct. Okay, for example, when Arjuna asks, Ye Shastra Vidim Ustruja Yajante Shraddhayan Vida, Tesham Nishta Tuka Krishna Sattva Maho Rajastama. So Arjuna is accepting that everyone doesn't understand the method of science, doesn't understand the Shastra, doesn't understand the logical ways of doing things. But if they are doing with a Shraddha, with respect, with reverence, where do they fall? Okay, they may not be doing it methodically, but where do they fall? I mean, do they fall into Sattva Rajatama, or they are on the right track? And then Krishna says, glad you asked this question, that Shraddha can be of a three kind. Okay, and actually of many kinds, by the way. Okay, but we'll just limit. So he says Sattva Rajatama, and that leads to some of this confusion. But that is also true about the Buddhi. And here I have mentioned Pujya Buddhi, Pramanya Buddhi, Viveka Buddhi, but there is also the Sattva Buddhi, Rajas Buddhi, and Tamasa Buddhi. Okay, so that's kind of the background against which we have to understand these questions, and of course, my responses to those questions as well. I took the email from in the form I received, and for presentation, I have cleaned it up, taken many other issues that were mentioned in this email because we will not able to cover it in a limited time. Quickly, let's go through the email. Hi, Nilesh. My knowledge of astrology is limited, but even I know, and let's call this individual PA for his initials, even he knows that Vakri means retrograde. However, you are claiming, which is to say Nilesh is claiming that Vakri in Mahabharata times does not mean retrograde, but something else. He goes on, he says he has watched my back and forth on Twitter with another Mahabharata researcher. He says, lady from the south, very likely, I'm very confident he's referring to Dr. Jayashree Sarnathan. Also, your debate with, meaning my debate with Manish Pandit and Konrad Elst at Sangam Talks. Yes, I had a 3-part debate with Manish Pandit at Sangam Talks, and it's available on Sangam Talks in the YouTube. I would encourage everyone to watch it. With Konrad Elst, it wasn't quite Sangam Talks, although Sangam Talks was very much involved. It was at Pragyata. And again, it is on YouTube with Dr. Konrad Elst, and also in one more place that I'm not recalling right now, some other platform. Okay. All right. I'm forgetting that name. Also, I should also mention at the top, this individual PS says his knowledge of astrology is limited. I have no comment on that, but I want to tell him, but also the listeners, that what I have done or what I am doing has nothing, and I repeat, nothing to do with the astrology. If astrology is understood in the sense of a Phala Jyotisha and the way the planetary positions and different yogas are considered in astrology, like a Phala Jyotish, I have nothing, nada, to do with it. All my work has to do with the astronomy, okay? The practical, the mathematical, the positional aspect of astronomy as a visual astronomy as seen in the sky. Anyways, he says they all agree that Vakri means retrograde. Are they all liars? Okay. First, what he's claiming is not true. That he's saying they all agree that Vakri means retrograde. Well, by all, there are many other Mahabharata researchers, but just limiting to the three names that he have indirectly referred to, Conrad has nothing to say about any planetary position with respect to nakshatra, any planetary description from the Mahabharata text. Okay, Conrad has very limited understanding of astronomy, and he's very open about it. He is slowly getting into it and seems to be understanding it, but frankly, at the rate which he's making pace and the number of mistakes and blunders he makes anytime he's interpreting something in astronomy, I would say he has a long way to go or a few lifetimes, okay? And he's my dear friend. So I'm confident he will take in the right spirit. Dr. Manish Pandit, does he take Vakri means retrograde? I think so, but guess what? And we are going to find the fun. If you ask him, if you present the three and all the three Vakri references from the Mahabharata text, I'm going to show it to you today. If you want to take it to Manish Pandit, hey, be my guest. Guess what? As soon as you take it to him, I promise you, either he's going to run away, he's going to digress, or he's going to go on some crazy tangent to run away from this subject. And for a reason. And I'm going to show you the proof of it, not just for any date, frankly, any date from 4500 BC and afterwards right to our times. Now, this will take a long time. So what I'm going to do today is going to do the simulation for this 3000 BC range from 3165 BCE to 3067 BCE. Okay, so think of this as from claim of Vedavir Aryaji in 3162 BCE all the way to 3067 BCE, the claim of originally the first Professor K.S. Raghavan, which was blindly and dogmatically borrowed by late Professor Narari H.R., which was further blindly borrowed like a pitcher catcher style or passing the baton style taken by Dr. Manish Panditji. And then there are some additional cheerleaders, such as, say, Dr. D.K. Hari, who does not understand anything about 3067 BC, but he claims 3067 BC, while simultaneously he does the cheerleading for Our Lady from the South, Jayashree Sarnathanji. So a lot of fun into this 3000 BC bracket, okay? All right. So Manish Pandit may consider Vakri as a retrograde. He may see this on the table. But what you'll realize is when the rubber meets the road, he is going to run away, he's going to digress, he's going to go on a tangent, okay? And the reason will be very obvious to you. So Conrades does not talk about the planetary evidence. So let's not, what his PA saying is not correct. Conrad has no idea, no clue. He has not said anything about Vakri means retrograde or Vakri observations of the Mahabharata text. Now, what Jayashree Sarnathan has said, actually, I could find a Twitter comment of hers, so I will show that to you. Also, remember, what I have done has nothing to do with astrology. It is all astronomy. And yes, there is a difference. Okay, let's go further. So he said, are they all, PS says, are they all liars? Well, I will leave it to you, the audience, to decide who they are. Okay. But since he asked the question, I said, let's take that as a title, How to Deal with Liars. Okay. And of course, you will see some, hot air flowing when people hear this. Just take it with a smile on your face. Try to see, read between the lines, or also try to see what is said behind these words like a liars. As they say, don't just go by the words, see if there is a malice behind it. All right. So I thought this is a wonderful quote from Nassim Nicholas Taleb. If you don't know who he is, just Google the name and you'll know more about him. I love this quote. The best revenge on a liar is to convince him that you believe what he said. I modified this because I have here, as far as the Vakri equal to retrograde nonsense is been spouted in the context of Mahabharata evidence, I have a group of liars. Okay, I was going to say lawyers, sorry, group of liars. So I modified the quote. I said the best revenge on a group of liars is to convince them that you believe what they said. Okay, and I'm going to leave you a very objectively testable evidence based on the most successful theory of our modern science, but a marvelous work done by ancient Indian sages, which is ancient Indian astronomy. Okay, let's go further. So the question is, does the Vakra or Vakri, as it occurs in the planetary descriptions in the Mahabharata text, referring to the timing of the Mahabharata war, what does that mean? Does the Vakri means the oblique crossing of a planet across the ecliptic, as I claim it, or the well-known retrograde motion that all of us ought to know? If you don't know it, go to Google, type retrograde motion of planets, and learn everything about it before continuing with this video. Okay. And oblique motion, I'm going to describe what it means, but I'm going to focus on retrograde in this video. And of course, you will see the simulation. So I'm not going to talk today so much about my claim, but what I am asserting is that in the Mahabharata text, when Vyasadeva refers to the word Vakra, he's referring to the oblique crossing of a planet across the ecliptic, from the north to the south side of the ecliptic, or from the south to the north side of the ecliptic, and not retrograde, okay, which is where the planet almost becomes steady and starts going backwards and then forward, and so on. That is a very fascinating motion. And I'm saying Vakra does not mean retrograde, okay, at least in the Mahabharata text. Okay, and proof is in the pudding. So let's look at this. What are those references? There are 3 specific references to Vakra motions of 2 planets. Now, how can we have 3 references for 2 planets? The answer is because one planet, namely Mars, is described as going even I'm making a mistake, is described as going Vakri twice at the time of the Mahabharata war. And another planet, Jupiter, is described as going Vakri once. Let's look at them. Okay, so there are these references from the Udyog Parva and Bhishma Parva. Okay, where I have underlined, that's where you see the word Vakra, Vakram, Vakraha, Vakram, Vakranu Vakram, Krutva. Right? So these are the word you see, the Vakra, Anuvakra, and so on. Now let's look at the specific nakshatra where these things happen. So it happened near nakshatra Magha, it happened near nakshatra Shravan, and it also happened near nakshatra Jeshta and Anuradha. And I may mention, those of you who don't know, again, if you don't know nakshatras, guys, and you want to know more so that you can make better sense out of this, go to Google, Wikipedia, type nakshatra, understand the names of nakshatra, understand their sequence, and so on. Okay, so Jeshta and Anuradha are next to each other, and there it is described here that the Angarak, okay, so let me show the planets now. So there is Angarak there, Brihaspati meaning Jupiter there, Angarak means Mars, again Angarak, and The Vakra Anuvakra motion is also related to Lohitango, which is again Mars. So Angarak or Lohitango means Mars, and Brihaspati means Jupiter. So Vakra motions of two planets are described in the Mahabharata text at the time of the Mahabharata war. And now let's look at their relative or specific positions. What does it say? Mars, this is here, went Vakra near Nakshatra Magha. That's one reference. Brihaspati, that is Jupiter, went Vakra near Nakshatra Shravan, that is second reference. And the third reference is again Mars, Angarak, going Vakra near Jeshta Anuradha. These are the three references. And the fourth reference is not an independent reference, but what it is saying is after going Vakra, Anuvakra, remember Mars is doing this twice, Vakra, Anuvakra, then it did something and it came to another nakshatra. That is not the subject today, so we'll focus on these three references. Again, the question is, the Vakra in the Mahabharata, does this mean oblique crossing across the ecliptic or retrograde along the ecliptic? Now, this is what September 21st, Jayashree Sarnathanji, Dr. Jayashree Sarnathanji wrote. There is a lot of digression here, lot of emotion, okay? So we have to do a best job to remove some of the emotion and only bring it what is relevant to this Vakri business. She's saying Vakri versus retrogression of Okean stock. I mean, guys, if you want to know more about Okean stock, follow Twitter. Okay, all right. So Vakri versus retrogression, because I'm saying Vakri is not retrograde, okay? She's saying is a classic example of North versus South divide in knowledge, okay? This is what the priest or Jesuit or whoever, the Christian missionary Caldwell started, some 200 years ago. And many Indians have been tremendously influenced by this so-called North versus South. She goes further, Vakri is common knowledge for a Southern. She does not specify what she means by Vakri, but our individual who asked the question, PA, he's saying that she means Vakri is equal to retrograde. And many others, she's not alone, majority, in fact, all other Mahabharata researchers, with the exceptions of yours truly, Nilesh, think Vakri means retrograde. If you come across somebody who does not think Vakri means retrograde, like me, then please bring it to my attention. Then she goes into Nordi, NRI, needs a simulator. So she, by the way, she does not, for whatever research she is doing, she does not accept the modern astronomy. She does not accept the modern astronomy data. She does not accept the simulation performed using modern astronomy software. Okay, now what is interesting is the simulations performed using modern astronomy software match with the descriptions and formulae given in Aryabhatiya, or they match with Surya Siddhanta with some changes because over time the astronomy constants change. But they perfectly match with what is given in Surya Siddhanta or Aryabhatiya. However, for whatever reason that I am not aware of, Dr. Jayashree Sarnathanji does not accept, does not agree with modern astronomy data and does not agree with simulations based on it, okay? So this is something you have to take it with her, why she does not agree. Now, if you don't agree, any one of the individual who might be watching this, if that person does not agree, they can actually stop right here, okay? They need not waste time watching rest of the thing, okay? Let's see. I mean, there's so much emotion here. I have to see if I can find something sensible. Okay, and it gets it wrong. Vakri means oblique crossing across the crossing of the ecliptic. Okay, not of the ecliptic. Vakri means a oblique crossing of a planet across the ecliptic, going from north to south and from south to north. That's what I mean. Slight mistake she has made. But so that everyone understands, that is my position. That Vakri means a planet, doesn't have to be planet, a celestial body obliquely crossing across the ecliptic, okay? Whereas her position is Vakri means retrograde, and that is the position of practically all other Mahabharata dating researcher, okay? All right, so this is the scenario. Now, because to limit something, and in this particular range that I'm showing you, from 3162 BCE through 3067 BCE, this is what, approximately 100-year period. And in this, guess what? There are out of 130 different claims for the dating of Mahabharata, 100 of them just fall here. Okay, so something is very wrong either with the folks in this region, because they cannot come to an agreement to 1 year within that 100 years. Okay, something very wrong. Okay, or maybe they're right, but I don't understand how all of them can be right. There can be only 1 year of the Mahabharata war. But we are going to today test one small piece, like 3 astronomy, specifically planetary observations, a specific type of motion called Vakra motion, out of 300 astronomy related observations. Okay, now here they have made a very clear position. Vakra means retrograde. I'm going to show. Let's leave it that as a surprise, what you find. Quickly, some of the key individuals, key not based on their importance, but because a name can be connected with a specific year. Also, with say one exception, that say Kota Venkatachalam, all others are around. So actually they can watch this video and they can say, well, Nilesh, look here for my year, the Vakri means, I still insist Vakri means retrograde. And look, here I can show Mars going retrograde near Nakshatra Maga. I can show Mars going retrograde near Nakshatra Jeshta Anuradha for my claimed year for the Mahabharata war. And look, here is Jupiter going retrograde near Nakshatra Shravan for the year that that individual is claiming. It is as simple as that. And I'm going to show you against their claims what actually the astronomy simulation, very sophisticated, precise, accurate astronomy simulation based on the latest NASA data from Hubble telescope shows you. So some references I mentioned, going from 3162 BCE of Vedavir Aryaji all the way to 3067 BCE. This claim was made as early as 1969 by Professor K.S. Raghavan. Then by 2000 CE or so, Narari HR blindly accepted it, tried to justify it. He failed disastrously, but that's not the subject today. We'll only focus on a Vakri. By the way, these Vakri results, they not agreeing with 3067 BCE and how they beautifully agree with my theory of Vakri means oblique crossing for 5561 BCE. I had brought it to Professor Narari HR's attention. I have a communication with him, although he passed away a couple of years ago. I have saved that communication. He refused to respond to it. Okay, DK Hari, as I said, is a clueless about why he has accepted 3067. I think he just decided, let's go with the crowd or something. So I'm just going to ignore, because he never says anything in support of it. And as I said, he cheers up what is that? What's her name? Jayashree Sarnathan ji for 3136 BCE. And Manish Pandit, he also used to, by the way, he believes 3067, believes, but cheers up. She used to cheer up 3136 BCE of Jayashree Sarnathan ji until they had now, disagreements and falling through, which is because, in all fairness to Manish Pandit ji, just only on this point, that he does accept the modern simulations based on astronomy, and Jayashree Sarnathan ji does not agree, and now she's criticizing Manish Pandit's use of modern simulator or astronomy simulators. But also there is another individual like who does Homa, and he's a staunch and blind supporter of Manish Panditji. I'm not getting his name, but he does a Homa all the time, or tries to propagate Homa as a great thing, and that could be very good. But as far as the Mahabharata dating goes, I have seen some of his tweets, and absolutely disastrous and idiotic tweets, but he doesn't have a claim of his own, and he is in his right to cheerlead for Manish Panditji, and that's great. There are many others. For example, P.V. Hole, he proposed 3143 BC. He's also no longer with us. He passed away a few years ago. But Emil Raja apparently is Dr. M.L. Raja has taken that claim. Now, when I met M.L. Raja, I realized that M.L. Raja wasn't, at least he did not show the awareness of it, that he was not aware that P.V. Hole had also come up with 3143 BC. Okay. I have shown why that is wrong, but that's a different story. Saroj Balaji, she has claimed 3140 BC. She has claimed many years, and she's changing different years. But hey, that's, I mean, if you want to know more, just follow whatever work where she has. 3139 BC and 3138. Sometimes it's a confusion of people. Should they call 3139 or should they call 3138? And that has to do with whether you take 0 as a 0 year between CE and BCE. Okay. But many people are so careless that they don't go through the details to specify whether they are assuming 0 year or not year. It's just a mathematical calculation issue. 3138 BC is by Kota Venkatachalam. He's also no longer with us. He was one of the Shankaracharya at some point, going back 1950s. He has written many books. I have most of, or if not all of his books here. How did he come up with 3138? Actually, his simple method was he took 3102 BC, sort of a rude or traditional understanding of the beginning of a Kali Yuga, and then he went backwards by 36 years to the year of Mahabharata war. Once he came up to that 3138 BC, he tried to justify in many different possible ways, which you will find a consistent theme across every name that you see here. They come up with a year of the Mahabharata war a priori and then try to justify in every possible way. In all fairness to Dr. Jayashree Sarnathanji, she actually says it very openly. She says, guys, we are not in the business of doing anything scientific testing, empirical testing, validation, pratyaksha, nothing. Our job is to take the traditional date and then by hook or crook justify it. That is a dharma. Okay, at least she is very open about it. Now, even with a traditional understanding, just like Kota Venkatachalamji reached 3138 BC, but that's not what she agrees with. So she, because, maybe there is no credit to be taken, because if Kota Venkatachalamji has done 3138 BC, then what's the point of saying, hey, that's the one? So she came up, I don't know how, 3136 BC, but she said, this is traditional date, no justification, no debate is required. There is nothing to debate. This is the date, and all our job, I mean, her job is to justify it. Okay. Professor Subhash Kak has suggested 3137 BC, but remember, he has also suggested 1900 BC. There is all kind of fun. I think I want to go forward from here. M.L. Raja, although he proposed 3143 BCE, when somebody asked him another question about the Krishna's birth year, which is simply that what tradition has done is 3102 BC is the passing away of Krishna. There is no basis, no evidence for it. It is a traditional understanding. They subtract 36 years to come to 3138 BC. And then also they take Bhagavata reference, which is to say in this discussion, other than 36 years, they do not touch Mahabharata text. And Bhagavata says, Bhagavad Puran says Krishna lived for 125 years. They use that reference to go back to 3228. So when somebody used that and put Dr. M.L. Raja on the spot and saying, hey, now what's your date? And he said, oh, for the agreement and for national unity, he will go with 3138 BC. The reason I mentioned that is he is going between, wavering between 3143 BC and 3138 BC. So you can see all kinds of fun. None of this is scientific. None of this is logical. Okay. And they have these varying dates. Now, what is interesting is they are consistent in claiming that Vakri means retrograde. Okay. All right. So let's go further. So what problem we have? The problem is, what does Vakri means when it occurs in the Mahabharata text? Does this mean oblique crossing of a celestial body such as a planet across the ecliptic, like what I am asserting, I am claiming? Or is it simply a retrograde motion, which is how we understand in the modern Indian astronomy, the Jyotish-Shastra, and I don't just mean the Phala Jyotish, that Vakra means retrograde, and that's what people are hanging on to. What I'm saying is, in the modern times, we can in India say Vakra equal to retrograde, but the way Vakra is used in the Mahabharata text, it does not mean retrograde, is my claim, is my assertion. When I say assertion, which means I can prove it with the evidence. Okay. objectively testable evidence. Somebody can just take that description and check it oneself. All right. So that's the problem. And now how many opportunities we have in terms of evidence? Okay, 3. Mars going Vakri near Magha, Mars going Vakri near Jeshta Anuradha, and Jupiter going Vakri near Shravana. And this all has to happen at the time of the Mahabharata war, whatever the year one may be claiming. And of course, so because this some of these actually takes over a long period of time, like before actually they go Vakra, or once they go Vakra, once they go retrograde, how long they do it, or even oblique crossing. We have to take this just for simplicity, let's say the year of the Mahabharata war plus minus 1 year or plus minus 2 years. It's kind of reasonable to give that, okay? Because that's how these 300 plus observations would come together. Okay, what's the background knowledge we need? Hey, we are talking of Mahabharata text, so therefore we need ancient Indian astronomy, the descriptions from the Mahabharata text itself. And because we are going to use a modern astronomy simulator, modern astronomy data, modern astronomy knowledge, therefore modern astronomy, that's our background knowledge. Okay, Pratyaksha, objective testing. How are we going to do that? We are going to do this using modern astronomy simulators based on the latest NASA data, okay, that comes through Jet Propulsion Lab, and then it gets disseminated to all the software companies, software simulating companies, and they continuously update it. Again, anyone can pick any decent software. There are possibly 20, 30 out there. I use Voyager from Carina Soft, most sophisticated, very precise, very accurate as I understand it. Okay, and of course, if you go in a public domain, you will come across all kinds of nonsensical stuff, how it is not accurate and so on. Now, if you want to get into that discussion, it's very exciting discussion. Then you need to study this, I would say, at least for a couple of years. Okay, you may be a smart person and may able to study it 6 months, but you need at least that much time to truly go into the depth. And this is not about just the time is passing by, I did study for 6 months. No, whether you understood or not, whether you have qualified or not, can be easily checked by how you test something, what you write, how you comment, how you ask questions, and so on and so forth. Okay, so it's not just the time. Time is not a guarantee that you studying 6 months or 2 years is not a guarantee that you can be expert. On the other hand, you may not need 6 months. Okay, all right. And let's see. And here the two groups theories. The one, majority, 99.99% of Mahabharata researchers are there on the other side, not in my camp, guys. Okay, they say Vakri means retrograde. So the entire 3000 BC junta that I showed you, 3162 BC, they don't agree with each other, but it appears, because they will not explicitly even state this. The person who asked me the question is saying it because he's clueless. He doesn't know actually what is the drama that is going to happen here with this Vakri. Therefore, he is casually, carelessly saying it. That's not true. These people who have come up with their dates and justifying it, they are smart enough. They know that how much deep water, how much, simple language, how much deep shit they are in, okay, when they want to claim Vakri equal to retrograde in the Mahabharata. So they many times will not even say anything. Okay, but anyways, so this is the entire 3000 BC junta. For all other MB dating claimants going back to say 1000 BC, 2000 BC, 2500 BC, anyone after 4500 BC safely is into this camp, versus my assertion that the Vakra does not mean retrograde in Mahabharata, it means oblique crossing. Okay, and Dr. No refers to the evil Dr. No of the James Bond movie. That's me here. Okay, all right, so we got practically everything filled up here. And now we are going to get into the simulation. So let me stop this. Let me start, assuming I can do it, the astronomy simulation. Okay. Now, for some of you, this may be your first introduction. Okay. And it is what it is, guys. Okay. Again, if you have not used it and so, oh my God, I'm so totally confused, I can't even understand anything. If you feel like that, you are right, which means you need to download some astronomy simulation, study for 6 months, 2 years, less or longer. Until you get some idea, you should be passionate about this. This is not some careless and a casual stuff that you say, you know what, I'm bored with something, let me just do it. No, I mean, I can't even tell you how long I spent learning this. I'm actually slow learner, okay? So still, I could master this, I would say, within, say, one year, 2 years. This is going back to, say, 1995, okay? And the software was different. It was a DOS-based software. And since then, I have played with 30 plus different softwares, okay? I have gone to astronomy labs and played with their more detailed softwares and so on. I can tell you this Voyager, if you take from Carinosoft, is extremely sophisticated, precise, accurate for the kind of things we need to study or we can study based on the evidence from Ramayana and Mahabharata. You don't need a more accurate software than this. Anyways, let's get going. So what I have here is the date here of 1st January 3165 BCE. Okay. So 1st January, then I'm also going to mark the planet Mars. Okay. And so that will stay here with us in terms of its positions and whatnot. All right. And we are going to use a step change of 1 day. Okay. Periodically, I'll be stopping it when the Mars is ready to do retrograde or actually doing a retrograde. Okay. And these are the nakshatra yogatara plotted, for all the 27, 28 nakshatra. So let's begin. The first encounter we are going to have is around 3162 BC. So that's like approximately 3 years from now, where we are standing here, January 1st, 3165. Okay, but I will stop anytime Mars does a retrograde. We will also try to notice the position of Jupiter, because remember, around that year, the Jupiter has to be near Shravana and has to do a retrograde. Okay, so let's do that. So now you'll see what happens. Okay, so right there, when I started 1st January 3165, no one has claimed a Mahabharata year happening there. Mars actually started going in retrograde. Okay, so from Purva Falguni, it went back towards Magha. So there is Mars going retrograde near Magha. Okay, or actually Purva Falguni, but you can also look at this as a Magha. Only problem is no one in this 3000 BC junta has claimed 3165 BC as the year of Mahabharata war. Okay, so now it's going in the forward motion. The retrograde motion is over. Okay, so we just continue the journey of a Mars, all right, until it is ready to go retrograde again, and I will stop it, so when that happens, okay, here. Now you notice it came up to Chitra, it has slowed down and is going to go backward. And which year we are in? We are in 3163. Mars goes retrograde about every 2 years, okay? So yeah, it has gone back and it's like this. Now, Vakri is equal to retrograde, which is how all other Mahabharata researchers assume. We are right now exploring the region claimed by Sri Vedviraryaji, who claims 3162 BCE. Okay. And since assuming he claims Vakri equal to retrograde, so then Mars should go retrograde near Magha and also Jeshtanurada. Okay. Now we looked at 3163. Still his year has to come. And this is a retrograde motion we saw near Chitra. We did not see near Magha or Jeshtanurada. That is the point to note down. And let's see where the next instance is. And also the year. Now we are into 3162 BCE, by the way. Okay. And there you go. Okay. So now what happened here? It came to Jeshta and is going backward to Anuradha. So, and in the year is 3161, which is after 3162. But remember, I said the year of the Mahabharata war, plus minus 1 year, plus minus 2 years. So where did Mars did this? Mars did it near Chitra, and now Mars is doing this near Jeshta, and we can say that is Anuradha. Okay, so out of the three motions, three instances, Vedvir Aryaji can take a credit if he chooses to for Mars going retrograde near Jyeshta Anuradha. He cannot take the credit because it didn't happen. Mars going retrograde near Magha. Okay, it happened, but it happened like in between there was another retrograde motion. So why would Vyasa lift that one and just count that one? That doesn't make sense. And quickly, while we are at it, let's check the position of Jupiter and see where it is in 3161 or 3162 BCE. Let's see. Not sure where it, oh yeah, here, okay. So for example, in 3161 BCE, Jupiter, see, this should be close to Shravan, okay? So it's not close to Shravan, but remember, this is 3161 BCE. So I'm going to go backwards, okay? And bring this to 3162 and about like a 3162 October, okay, which is the time of his claim for the Mahabharata war, okay? So if you come here, then, so this is like the time of the Mahabharata war claimed by Vedviraryaji, and the position of Jupiter, this is Jupiter here, is near Uttara Bhadrapada and Revati. It is nowhere close to Shravan. Like if you have to go to Shravan, how far you have to go? You have to go 1, 2, 3, Shatabhisha, 4, Dhanishta, and 5. 5 nakshatras behind, okay? Okay, so that's like a 2 Rashi space, 2 zodiac space, which would take 2 additional years. Okay, so Jupiter was nowhere near Shravan in 3162 BCE. That is the point. Okay, all right. So now that we have done this so what can we conclude? 3 instances: Jupiter going Vakri, as in retrograde near Shravan, Mars going retrograde near Magha, and Mars going retrograde near Jyeshta Anuradha. For the year claimed by Vedviraryaji, we can say that he will able to claim Mars going retrograde near Jyeshta Anuradha. You saw that. But other two, he will not able to take a credit. In fact, they go against. Okay, so Mahabharata is saying something, but he will not able to show this to be true for 3162 BCE. Okay, all right. We are going to go back to our Mars. And by the way, guys, what I'm showing, demonstrating through this is how actually you go and test a particular claim, whether it is my claim for 5561 BC or somebody else's claim. We have to do this with a sanyam. We have to do this with a samyak attitude. We have to do this with a balanced attitude. Dhyana, dharana, samadhi, that comes together equal to sanyam. Okay, without any prejudice, without any emotion. That's what we have to do it. If something is true, we have to note it down. Just like I said, in 3162 BCE, the Mars can be shown going retrograde near Jyeshta Anuradha, one of the 3 instances, one of the 3 observations for Vakri. We can show this to be true, but the 2 others, we cannot show them to be true. Okay, let's go now with Mars. I have locked it in one day. And now we are going to go towards 3143 BCE. Okay, this is going to be a long journey. I may actually speed it up. See, this is that retrograde near Jyeshta Anuradha in 3162 BC, which if Vedviraryaji would like to take a credit, he may take a credit. But of course, the other 2 descriptions of Mahabharata would not agree for 3162 BC, just on the Vakra type of motion. Again, it's going retrograde here near Dhanishta Nakshatra or so, and it keeps on moving. Remember, Mars goes retrograde about every 2 years. Mars orbital period is 1.88 years, again, close to 2 years, just shy of 2 years, and it will go retrograde again approximately every 2 years. Okay, so this is that retrograde. When it goes backwards, makes a circle, and then goes forward. Okay, what we are doing with this is we are heading towards now 3143 BC, which is the year that was claimed by late P.V. Hole. And in our times, independently, in the sense Dr. M.L. Raja was not even aware that P.V. Hole had claimed that similar year. Tremendous many humorous and humongous problems with the claim of 3143 BCE. We don't have to even go to the work of Dr. Emil Raja, but of course, that can be shown to be the same. But I had an opportunity to review the claim of great P.V. Hole. He has done fabulous work with Vedanga Jyotish. Again, I had a pleasure of reading it multiple times, and really, really fascinating work. Okay, we are getting very close towards 3143. Right now, we are running there at 3150. By the way, when you watch this video, you can stop it video anytime to just read what it is. So 3150 BCE, or note down the specific position. Of course, the Mars would always be on the screen because I have locked it here, okay? And we are going with a step change of 1 day. So all other planets, Sun and Moon also I have removed so that it doesn't distract you here in simulation. But see, now again, Mars is going retrograde, this time near, say, Uttara, Falguni, Hasta, that region, and so on. And there is a value to this noting down this motion of a Mars, because you become comfortable. It's like flying a plane, practicing, going on a bicycle when you learn the first time, driving a car just for a good ride so that, you feel comfortable driving it. It's the same thing, driving the software. So you get to see different motions of Mars, how this happens. You can start tracking the patterns. Like, okay, so let's note one pattern here. We are actually at very close to 413. So here, note down this retrograde motion of Mars. So Mars is going retrograde near Shravan. Okay, it's not describing Mahabharata. This is just about 1 year before the claim of 3143 BC of P.V. Hole or Dr. Emil Raja. Okay, so again, remember 3143 BC plus minus 1 year. So if you go minus 1 year, that is Mars going retrograde near Shravan. Hey, that's not what Mahabharata is saying. Okay, but let's go further and let's look at the another claim on the other side of 3143 BC for Mars going retrograde. Let's notice where it goes retrograde and see how it matches, or to what extent it may match with the Mahabharata description. All right, so here it is time again for a retrograde, and it is doing near Uttara Bhadrapada. Okay, so there it did near Shravan, here it did near Uttara Bhadrapada. So for the year 3143 BC, two observations of Mars going retrograde, assuming somebody interprets Vakri as a retrograde near 3143 BC, is not valid. Therefore, this evidence falsifies that particular year. Definitely, it does not corroborate. Quickly for fun, and I will not do this for everything, but again, let's look at the position of Jupiter, okay? And to see where it is. Now, position of Jupiter in 3142 BC, which is 1 year after, has come near Jeshta here. What does that mean? If you go backwards to year 3143 BCE, actually the Jeshta would come to Anuradha. And remember, the Mahabharata description says Jupiter went retrograde near Nakshatra Shravan. So the three descriptions of Vakra from the Mahabharata text, none of them agrees for the year 3143 BCE of P.V. Hole or Dr. Emil Raja. That's how we are going to do it. Now, again, I want to go back to Mars. And now we will only note down the Mars position. In fact, I'm going to tell you that the descriptions of Mahabharata do not match for any of the dates beginning with this 3143, and I showed you it does not match for 3162 other than that one instance, Mars going retrograde near Jeshta Anuradha. Here in 3143, neither Mars description of retrograde or Jupiter description of retrograde matches. Okay. Now, from 3143 to 3067, I'm going to show you that none of them, for any claimed year of the Mahabharata war, it does not match any of them anywhere. Okay, but we'll just to speed up and manage the time, I'm going to focus only on the Mars and not stop every time to note down the position of Jupiter. But please, if you are curious enough, And if you are willing to do tapasya, then download a software and do this for Jupiter also. Idea behind this particular series is not to spoon feed you on everything, but rather to demonstrate, to show you how to think, how to test, how to look at the evidence, and how it is tested using different scientific means. In this case, a specific astronomy evidence using astronomy software. But the same thing would apply if the evidence is from genetics, then astronomy software would not work. You have to go somewhere else, or oceanography, or climatology, sedimentology, and so on and so forth. Okay, different techniques. All right, so let's begin with the Mars again. And now remember 3143, and then immediately we are going to get to 3140, 3139, 3138, 3137, 3136. 3126 of Ramesh Panchavag, okay, and then 3102, like there are 60 folks, okay, who just claiming, hey, that's it, that's where it happened. Remember, they are totally clueless about this 300 plus evidence, astronomy evidence of Mahabharata text. Then we go to 3067, and that's where we will stop. The original claim of Professor K.S. Raghavan, finally borrowed by Narari HR, afterwards again borrowed, twice borrowed by Manish Panditji, D.K. Hari cheering up for that claim, and so on and so forth. All right, so let's do this. So now we begin here in 3142 BCE. All I'm going to do is stop Mars every time it goes retrograde, okay? And just to note down what the position is. Remember, Mahabharata text is saying Mars goes retrograde near Magha and Jeshtanurada. This is going retrograde near Rohini Kritika. Okay, so it does not agree for 3140 BCE of Saroj Balaji. Okay, that comet flew by there, That's what happens when you do this for a long time. You get to see many interesting things. Okay, let's look at the next retrograde of Mars. It's coming here, right here. And where is it going? It's happening near Punarvasu Ardra. Again, that is not the description of the Mahabharata text. And therefore, 3139 BC, 3138 BC of Kota Venkatachalam does not corroborate the descriptions of a Mahabharata. Okay, so they are claiming 3138 BC, but they will not able to, they could not match the evidence of Mahabharata, okay, with it. Now, this is a Halley's or Halley's comet, passing by there, okay, in 3137 BCE. Now, something interesting about it, but let me stop and see if I can say about it. Now, many people get very excited and say, oh yeah, there was this Halley's comet at the time of the Mahabharata war when they claimed 3137 BC. Well, guess what? Either Halley's comet or some comet, it was settled near Nakshatra Pushya. And when you look at this, it is anywhere but at Nakshatra Pushya. Okay, so something very fascinating to just note down, but not relevant for dating of the Mahabharata. It is relevant, but not when it is away from Pushya Nakshatra. That is the point. Okay, so let's continue. And for most part, it will not bother us until now 3067, because it will take 75 years before it shows up again. All right, so I'm going to stop it when Mars goes retrograde again. Okay, and see, it has slowed down. Okay, so where it has slowed down just before Magha and near Ashlesha Pushya. Now, can someone take this as Mars going retrograde near Magha? My answer is yes, absolutely. You can. You can take it. Mars going retrograde near Magha. Now, what is the year? 3136 BCE. Guess what? This should make someone like Dr. Jayashree Sarnathanji very happy. At least a small happy victory. What is the problem with this? The problem is, although someone like me, okay, who does not agree with any year after 4500 BCE, or in fact, for that matter, any year other than 5561 BCE, But remember, we have to do this in a Sanyam fashion, Samyak fashion, in a very objective fashion. So yes, can this consider Mars going retrograde near Maga? Answer is yes. Okay, it didn't come quite to Maga, but no, that's not how we get unnecessarily nitty-gritty. In fact, it would be foolish to do like that. So yes, this can be claimed. Now, what is the problem here? The one problem is Jayashree Sarnathanji does not trust the astronomy simulator. So even when this goes in her favor, I'm not sure whether she's going to accept this. Okay, that is one problem. But this is not the only problem. Okay, so this is like, I think, around her time of the Mahabharata war, like Mars going retrograde near Maga. Okay, she would able to claim one of the three Vakri motions, but she does not accept simulation, number one. So I'm not sure what her position would be. Her followers who also follow me may want to go and check with her if they are curious. I'm not asking them to do it. If they are curious, since they are cheerleaders for her, let's stop this at another position where Mars is going retrograde. Why did I stop this? Because remember, around the Mahabharata war, Mars is described as going Vakri twice, once near Maga and the other times near Jeshta Anuradha. Well, that's not what is happening in 3136. Actually, it's already we are in 3134, which is okay. But where is Mars going retrograde? Near Purva Falguni, Uttara Falguni. So that doesn't match. And as I said, I'm not going to stop for a Jupiter, but I will simply show you because the Jupiter happens to be here. So for her year 3136 BCE, again, Mahabharata expects Jupiter to be near Shravan, and it is nowhere near Shravan. It is in Falguni, Purva Falguni, Maga area. It would have been like a couple of years before. And guess what? It will not be, it will be a long time, many years before it's going to go near Shravan. So out of these three observations, if she chooses to take the credit and changes her mind and now decides to believe in astronomy software, then she may be able to claim 1 point out of 3. Now, there is a reason why she doesn't like astronomy software, because astronomy software does not agree with the year 3136 BC on any count, whether it is Arundhati Vasishta, whether it is duration of Bhishma on the bed of arrows, whether it is the first day of the Mahabharata war, whether it is the last day of the Mahabharata war, whether it is any of the 50 different planetary positions. None of them match for 3136 BCE. And to get out of this quagmire, the easy way she has found, okay, is to basically say, hey, you know what? I'm not going to trust astronomy software. I'm not going to trust the modern astronomy data. And I'm not actually sure what she trusts, okay? But that's a different subject. Okay, let's proceed further. The next year could be, so we are at 3133. So next year would be, I mean, next important time would be 3102 BCE. Okay, so there we will check, and then we will jump to 3067 BC. There is also another claim made by Ramesh Panchavag of Washington, D.C. area. He made that claim, let's see, about 12, 13 years ago, just before I published my book. And he and I had communication and a lot of humorous conversations there. Let me stop this when it goes retrograde. Okay, so here, this is year 3129. This is Mars is going retrograde near Mula. Again, nobody has claimed this year, so it doesn't matter much. The next year we will check before 3102 is like 3126 BC, claimed by Ramesh Panchavag. He's architect by profession. I'm not sure if he has retired now. He was involved in the development, residential housing development of Washington area, Maryland area. Okay, so this one is going retrograde near Shatabhishaj in 3127 BC. Worth noting for his claim of 3126 BC. Remember, Mars has to go Vakri near Magha and near Jeshta Anuradha. As I said, other Mahabharata researchers take Vakri as a retrograde. So therefore, we are checking retrograde motion. It has to go retrograde near Magha. This is not the case. It has gone retrograde near Shatabhishaj. And the other instance we will note down on the other side. So let's see when that happens. Say around 3125 BC or 3124 BC. Since Mars goes retrograde every 2 years. So here is going to slow down now. and go retrograde near Bharani Ashwini. So what we can say is the two descriptions of Mars going Vakri, assuming somebody translates as retrograde, will not corroborate, will not match, will not agree for the year 3126. So we can falsify 3126 BC, year of Ramesh Panchavag. Also, it just so happens again, I see the Jupiter right here. Okay, and what is the position of it? If the position is near Nakshatra Rohini and Mrugashirsha, far away from Nakshatra Shravana. So all three observations basically fall off for year 3126 BCE of Ramesh Panchavag. Again, I'm just taking this time to guys show you how we test a specific claim for a specific astronomy observation. All right, so now we will not stop until we get close to 3102 BCE. So we have to travel through time of about 20 years. Okay, so in the meantime, just enjoy these many wonderful motions of Mars, but also the motion of Sun, and around that, the motion of Mercury and Venus. And of course, Mars crossing other slower planets such as Saturn and Jupiter and Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. Okay, so it went retrograde there. Again, nowhere close to any claimed year for the Mahabharata war, so we are not worried about it, or we don't need to even notice it. Another comet fly by. You can see it fly around there. That's why the simulation slowed down for some time there. Okay, that has to do with the memory issues, guys. Okay, that has nothing to do with actually anything slowing down in the sky. Okay, so we are at 3118 BCE. Again, nobody has claimed any year between 3102 BCE and 3126 BCE. So that's where we are running right now. And we are just noticing down the dynamic movement of Mars. So you can become very comfortable with what it means when Mars goes retrograde. Right now, this is normal motion, going forward motion. But when it slows down, like it is doing now, turns backward, and now forward, this is what is retrograde. Also, if you notice, every time, and this is a astronomy science subject that cannot be easily explained, but if you notice, it's a retrograde motion, the kind of patterns it generates are similar, but they're not identical. Sometimes it will just make a letter like a J, like that stick of a J, the like hockey stick, and then go. Other times it will make a zigzag path like a Z. Other times it will make a oval shape, like, like a circle, and then go further. So all of these different like this, it made a circle. These are possible. And why does this happen? Because it has to do with the relative position of the Earth and the Sun, and of course they have to be in opposition, so Earth is kind of in between the Sun and the Mars when the retrograde happens. We are getting close to 3102 BCE. So what I'll do is I will note down, slow down, stop it when Mars goes retrograde, let's say near 3104, 3103. Okay, because that would be like before the claimed year of Mahabharata war, 3102 BC, by numerous, like 60 plus Mahabharata researchers. Okay, so those people who find strength in numbers, whether these people are, have done something with some deep thinking, or it's very careless or casual. Many people may love that. Oh, 60 people are there claiming 3102 BC. Maybe there is some truth in it. I think that's a very naive thinking. But hey, we have a freedom of thought in Hindu Dharma, so we have to honor that. Okay, so this is 3103 BCE, and Mars is going retrograde near that Magha, Ashlesha, etc. So to this 3102 BCE junta, about like a 60 plus Mahabharata researchers spread over last 200 years, let's give them 1 point. So if they want to claim Vakri equal to retrograde, then yes, just like I said Jai Shri Saranathan ji would able to claim Mars going Vakra near Magha in 3136, or Vedvirarya ji would able to claim Mars going Vakri as in retrograde near Jeshta Anuradha. Similarly, 3102 BC junta will able to claim Mars going retrograde near Magha. See, this has gone retrograde and now it's going forward again. Okay, now let's look at the next retrograde position of Mars and where that occurs. Okay, so it's happening near Uttara Falguni, which is nowhere close to what is described in the Mahabharata text, assuming people insist Vakra equal to retrograde. Here it's going retrograde near Hasta and Uttara Falguni. Okay, all right. So we have just done, we have basically taken care of 3102, 3101, 3100. You know, you'll find 60 plus individuals claiming that to be the year of Mahabharata war. Just on these three descriptions of Vakri, we can say that that is false, that is wrong, that's not correct. Let's look at another comet there, travel through. That's why the simulation has slowed down and it will pick up now. It went retrograde near Vishaka, which is also not described in Mahabharata, assuming Vakri is taken as retrograde. And now our next and last destination is near 3067 BC. The claim was originally made by Professor K.S. Raghavan in 1969. It was a makeshift effort. I mean, in retrospect, we can look at it and say, you know, it's extremely naive effort. But when much of the sentiment in India was very anti-dharmic, you know, he was trying to do something on his own, trying to fight the battle single-handedly in Chennai area with a recent convert to Christianity, Mr. Pillai. And so he came up with a makeshift solution to fight this. And we don't know exactly how far he succeeded in convincing the recent convert, Mr. Pillai, to what extent. What is unfortunate is that when that claim was picked up by Dr. Kalyan, what's his name? Sorry, I'm forgetting the names. Like one who has done great research in terms of documentation related to Saraswati, Kalyan Sundar Ramanji. Please forgive me if I'm saying the name wrong. And he brought it to the attention of Professor Narahari HR. And Professor Narahari HR took it to heart, which was great, except instead of objectively testing it, because if he would have done it, he would have realized how disastrous this claim of 3067 BCE is, not just based on a Vakri, but practically based on the testing of every single of the 300 plus astronomy descriptions from the Mahabharata text. It's a disaster. And therefore, I don't want anyone to ever forget 3067 BCE claim, because it is a very good illustration of how a good illustration of a disastrous par excellence claim. Okay, and I'm not, guys, I'm not saying this because any disrespect to any of these individuals, either late Professor Narahari HR, who I have had a pleasure of communicating for a very long time, easily 10 years, okay, 10 plus years. And Kalyan Ramanji, Srinivas Kalyan Ramanji, I'm getting that name. You know, I also, I mean, he disagrees when we have a, what to say, very clear disagreement on the dating of Mahabharata war. I appreciate all the wonderful work he has done and his passion and energy related to the Saraswati research. And part of that is, of course, the Mahabharata dating. So Dr. Srinivas Kalyan Ramanji suggested this date of Professor K.S. Raghavan to Professor Narahari Doctor and Professor Narahari HR to test. Unfortunately, as I said, instead of truly testing it, Professor Narahari HR tried his best to justify it, and actually that way continued this disastrous claim for many years. Interestingly, it's not over because the baton has been passed on to Dr. Manish Panditji. and he made some additional cosmetic changes similar to Dr. Narari HR, who actually removed some of the references claimed by K.S. Raghavan, because at least Narari HR, in his subjective conviction, he realized, which is right, that those also do not match for 3067 BC. The reality is that not even a single out of 300 plus astronomy references match for 3067. It has become a wonderful case study, and one day I will write a case study on this 3067 claim. As I said, it's a disaster, but I don't want people to forget it, because just imagine, from 69, as that's what, almost 50 years now, 50 plus years, it has taken people on a ride, and it is a wonderful claim to actually test the scientific astronomy and logical acumen, logical reasoning skills, or scientific acumen or astronomy acumen skills of anyone. So this is a good claim to test. Okay. Anyways, let's proceed and go towards 3067. Remember again, the Vakri, if it's taken as retrograde, which Professor Narari HR definitely has taken that way. Dr. Manish Pandit also agrees with Narari HR. So he also takes Vakri equal to retrograde, and he is around, so he can tell us otherwise if he thinks otherwise. And what is interesting is I'm going to show you in 3067, you cannot show Mars going retrograde near Magha. You cannot show Mars going retrograde near Jeshta Anuradha. And you cannot show Jupiter going retrograde near Shravan. In fact, Jupiter is nowhere close to Shravan. It is near Nakshatra Revati. Okay. All right. So we are getting closer. We are like 10 years away from 3067. What I will do is, when I get to 3070 BC or so, I'll slow down. I will stop when Mars starts going retrograde. We will note down the position of Mars and the nakshatra, and we will ensure where Mars goes retrograde in the vicinity of 3067, show that it does not agree with the descriptions of the Mahabharata text. We will also pause and identify the position of Jupiter and demonstrate that it is nowhere close to Shravan. So no question of it is going retrograde near Nakshatra Shravan, as claimed by likes of Professor K.S. Raghavan, Professor Narari HR, Dr. Manish Pandit, Dr. D.K. Hari. Okay, based on their assumption that Vakri means retrograde. All right. We are almost done, guys. Okay, so this is 3072. No point stopping it, but I only stop because it is going retrograde near Magha. Okay. Now, although I am showing it, this retrograde near Magha is not claimed by either K.S. Raghavan, Achar, Pandit, or D.K. Hari as the evidence of the validation. If they want to do it, they are free to do it, and we can have a very interesting discussion why that is another additional disaster. But let's move on. It will go retrograde again before 3067. Remember, it goes retrograde every 2 years. So it will do this again around 68 or 69, somewhere there. Okay, there. See, okay, it's going retrograde near where? Near Hasta and Uttara Falguni, which is not what Mahabharata is describing. It's saying only near Magha and Jeshta Anuradha. So yeah, let's go further. So this does not agree. Now let's see what happens around 3067. Does it go around Jeshta Anuradha? Okay, still they will be short on it going retrograde near Magha. So there. Okay, so look where it is. So this is the year 3067, early part of 3067 February. The war, according to them, happened in November. So almost like 6, 7, 8 months away, which is fine. Remember, the year plus minus 1 year plus minus 2 years max is okay. Actually, 2 years is not okay, but just for simplicity, we will take that. But that doesn't help them in any way, of course. So here, I want to just go slow to tell you, because it's happening close by, but really, where it is happening. It's happening between Vishakha And so Mars is now going to go retrograde. See, it's going to go backward, okay? So it's Vishakha to Swati. But when it comes to Anuradha Jeshta, it did not go retrograde. So by the time it comes to Anuradha, it is, and Jeshta, it's going forward. So it's not. Now, the reason I mentioned this is this Mars going retrograde near Swati and Vishakha is claimed, has been claimed by late Professor Achar as if Mars went retrograde near Nakshatra Jeshta Anuradha. That's not correct. Okay, it's a lie. Okay, but also if you take this, then so first it is a lie and it's wrong. But also he failed, or the whole 3067 junta from Raghavan to Achar to Manish Pandit to D.K. Hari fails to show Mars going retrograde near Jeshta Anuradha, but also near Magha. And so we are now what, in 65, right? So we can stop, so Mars, on Mars, 2 counts of Vakra equal to retrograde, they fell. Let's look at the position of Jupiter. Okay, so let me unlock Mars. And yeah, the position of Jupiter is near, where is it? Okay, here, see, the position of Jupiter, at least in 3065, is near Nakshatra Mruga, okay, Mruga Shirsha. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to log this here, but let's go backward, okay, for a minute to 67, just to show that Jupiter won't be anywhere close to Nakshatra Shravan in 3067, okay? So when the 3067 comes, I'm going to stop it. So here, for example, so November 3067, in fact, there is also a lot of fun there. So for example, if you go first day of the war, as claimed by late Professor K.S. Raghavan and borrowed without any change by late Professor Narari H.R., they claimed war beginning on November 22nd. Remember, we can go plus minus 1 year, that is given, but the position of Jupiter, as I mentioned before, it is near Revati. So if you go back 1 year, guess what? It's going to go near, say, Uttara Bhadrapada, okay, somewhere here. It's not going to go 3, 4, 5 nakshatras to Shravan, okay? And it's not going to, well, further doesn't matter. So on all 3 counts of Vakra equal to retrograde, if that's how they interpret, which they have, 3 observations, 3 descriptions of Mahabharata fell for 3067 BCE. Now, this is the first day of the Mahabharata war, as claimed by Professor K.S. Raghavan, Professor Narari H.R. Guess what? Manish Pandit ji realized that that has his own disaster waiting. And in order to desperately try to match one observations of Balaram Tirtha Yatra, Balaram, where with you per that reference, Balaram as if returns on a nakshatra Shravan, Manish Pandit decided to push this date from November 22nd to November 25th. So by 3 days, he shifted 23, 24, 25. Now, with that, what he achieved is that the last day of the war for his claimed year, same year, 3067, the last day comes out to be where the moon is in Nakshatra Shravan, okay, which appears to match with that one reference from Shalya Parva. What is the problem with it? First thing, now he gave up, as far as the first day of the war of K.S. Raghavan or what Narari H.R. did it. Why did he do it? Because to match the last day of the war with the Balarama description. But when you make a change, I think you have to go back to the assumptions, okay? And if you have gone back to the assumption, and I question him during our debate at Sangam Talks, like, so how did you arrive at 3067? Guess what? Neither D.K. Hari, nor Manish Pandit, nor Professor Narari H.R., nor K.S. Raghavan want to answer that question. Now, K.S. Raghavan is the first one to come up with that year. So I would encourage individuals who are further curious to read a book by Professor K.S. Raghavan. Okay, you might have to read multiple times. It's not a well-written book, although his effort was extremely sincere. Sincere in the sense, the passion point of view, but extremely naive and careless when it comes to astronomy. In fact, it has led to all kinds of crazy things. That's why I said it's a wonderful case study. Krishna becomes 45-year-old. Okay, Krishna becomes 45-year-old at the time of Mahabharata war, which is wrong on hundreds of counts. They are into the same dilemma like Emil Raja. Emil Raja wavers between 3143 BCE and 3138 BCE. One is like a traditional claim, Kota Venkatachalam, which Emil Raja doesn't want to say Kota Venkatachalam is wrong. Now, where does this foolishness comes from? Okay, like people are not willing to say something that is wrong as wrong. Where does it come from? It comes from a very foolish understanding or foolish confusion between a Shraddha Buddhi, a Pujya Buddhi, and Pramanya Buddhi and a Viveka Buddhi. For example, as I said, Kota Venkatachalamji simply started with the traditional understanding of 3102 BC as the year of Kali Yuga. From there, he went 36 years backward. That 36-year reference comes from where? From Mahabharata. That there was flooding and destruction of Dwarka 36 years after the Mahabharata war. So now, why 36 and why 3102 BC as the beginning of Kali Yuga? Well, for that one has to go to Bhagavad Puran, which says opinion, by the way. Okay, there is nothing testable. Opinion of Itihasa researchers. Okay, Puravid says that they think it is their opinion that the Kali Yuga began when Krishna left the planet. And when did Krishna leave the planet? When simultaneous with the flooding and destruction of Dwarka. So now they take a traditional claim which has no objectively testable basis, 3102 BCE. They assume that to be Kali Yuga, which is therefore the timing of Krishna passing away, same as a timing for the flooding and destruction of Dwarka, which, by the way, none of these 3067 junta agrees with. Okay, that's why they remain very vague on the Kali Yuga for that reason, because it will not agree with the tradition. They don't tell you that, but that's what the reality is. Now, from there, Kota Venkatachalamji went back 36 years and claimed 3138 BCE. And therefore, now Emil Raja has this dilemma. His date is 3143, but how can he disagree with Kota Venkatachalam when somebody asked him? And he said, well, I'm willing to give up my date for 3143 BC and I'll accept 3138 BC. Now, a traditionally run date for Krishna Janma 3228 BC is basically a backward calculation based on these far-flung stray references from one reference from here, another reference from tradition, third reference from British playing with our astronomy, and so on. So 3102 BCE, they went backward by 125 years to 3228 BCE as the birth year of Krishna, based on what? Based on one statement from Bhagavad Puran, which says Krishna lived for 125 years. Now, what is interesting is, for example, Madhvacharya has said Krishna lived for 107 years. Okay. Now, I am not saying Madhvacharya's claim is to be taken better and better than the 125 Bhagavad Puran. My point is, if we do not use our Pramanya Buddhi, which is evidence-based thinking, logical thinking, scientific thinking, Nyaya Darshana thinking, Vaisheshika Darshan thinking, Sankhya Darshan thinking, analysis, okay, synthesis, if we don't use this, then we will always get into, we may think we saved ourselves by going with the Pujya Buddhi or Shraddha Buddhi, by respecting opinion of Kota Venkatachalamji, or respecting opinion of, say, Madhvacharya-ji, or respecting the opinion of Bhagavad Puran. The problem is these different statements, they clash with each other. And we are not talking of multiple Krishna at the time of Mahabharata war. So guys, are multiple Mahabharata wars happening. So this confusion, this chaos and utterly humorous stuff is generated because our people, by our people, I mean people from Hindu Dharma, are falling into the trap of the Abrahamic religious conception that if it is in the book, or if the Pope says it, or if it is in the Bible, it is not to be questioned. Now they have started questioning it, but almost like many of our folks are taking a very dogmatic path. The Hindu dharma, the foundations are so strong, so achar saishnuta, vichar swatantrya, and conviction, I mean, into the niti mulya, so nirapeksha niti mulya, I mean, so without any biases, like absolute, nirapeksha, ahimsa satyam asteya, satya, doesn't matter, you can say it pleasantly, that is the one thing, but satya is a satya, it is not to be played around with. Our dharmic tradition is not so hideous that it cannot rise over Shraddha Buddhi. We can have a great respect, and we ought to have a great respect for, say, likes of Kota Venkatachalam, for our ancient Indian narratives such as Bhagavad Puran, or say the kind of works that even someone like Professor K.S. Raghavan, who has done 1969, or even justificatory efforts of, say, Narari Acharji. Okay, we can question him, but we can still have a respect for him. I mean, when he and I met, multiple times we met in different places, different continents, and of course we were communicating through phone, but also emails and whatnot. It was very cordial discussion when we had very stark disagreements. Okay, but now I see, and this is not just now, I'm saying this is always happening in all different epochs, different decades and different centuries. People fight, vehemently, like you might know, fight between Advaitas, the Kevala Advaita and Dvaita and Vishishta Advaita and so on. It's important to realize that if we want to know the Sat, we have to minimize our errors. Satyena labhyas tapasa yesha atma samyak jnanena brahmacharena nityam antasharire jyotirmayo hi shubhram yam paschanti yataya kshina dosha. Guys, the objective is to minimize, reduce the errors so that the truth can be seen better. The Hindu tradition is not so weak, so hideous, that people working in this tradition cannot come above the Shraddha Buddhi or above the Puja Buddhi. It must happen, okay, if for individual and as a society, if we truly care about Indic Renaissance, Indic Revolution. And what I mean by that, from a Puja Buddhi, we can still respect the person and still disagree because the evidence says otherwise. That's a Pramanya Buddhi. And then the Viveka Buddhi, which is a further stage beyond Pramanya Buddhi, is which is to say, like people asking me, like the series that I'm doing, there are many additional questions that have come my way, but some of them I will never entertain because the person will ask a question but will not explain what is the value, what is the benefit of answering that question, what problem it will solve. It is like somebody's kutuhal, somebody's careless and casual curiosity. Well, that person should go and find out the answer oneself. Okay, this is not meant to just create some videos and put it flood the YouTube. No, this is not at all about this. The idea behind this particular series is to educate people, how they can think for themselves. Vichara. So Vichar Swatantriya is there, but the Swatantriya comes with responsibility. And in that part of responsibility is to understand that you don't start with the Puja Buddhi, Shraddha Buddhi, which are same in my mind, and stay stuck there. No, you have to evolve, bootstrap yourself out of a Shraddha Buddhi to Pramanya Buddhi and also to Viveka Buddhi, which is to decide the priorities, what you are working on, even when asking questions to individuals within the Indic space who are working on these things. To summarize, for 3067 BC, which is relatively popular claim, unfortunately, in Indian psyche, just on these three, I showed you that it's a disaster. Okay, if somebody takes Vakri equal to retrograde, Mars, the two descriptions of Mars or one description of Jupiter cannot be satisfied for 3067 BC. That is also the case for some 60, 70, 80 different Mahabharata researchers claiming those many different years. and many of them actually claiming that 3102 BC, 3101 BC, 3100 BC, very carelessly, casually, nothing matches. And some other we looked at, I think Vedvir Aryaji's, we could match 1 out of 3. And in case of Jayashree Sarnathanji, we could match 1 out of 3. But she better not agree with it because she does not trust this simulator. And that raises a very interesting question. What is her method about objectively testing anything that she's claiming, anything she's writing in her books or blogs or otherwise? But I will leave that question for her dear fans. Okay, and many of them also follow me, which is great. I'm not sure what good or bad they get out of it, but I'm sure they must be getting something since they follow both. That's it, guys. So as far as the Vakri equal to retrograde claim is concerned, which is a theory of all other Mahabharata dating researchers, with the exception of one individual, that is yours truly, Nilesh Hope, I have shown for a limited time span of about 100 years, beginning with 3165 BCE to 3065 BCE, about 80 different individuals, 80 different claims, or maybe not 80 different claims, but 80 different individuals claiming in this 100-year region. And just on this one aspect of planetary description, Vakri, all of these claims fail. Next time, as a continuation of this, unless there is more interesting questions out there, I will show you how my theory, my assertion that Vakri means oblique crossing of a planet across the ecliptic. 2 instances for Mars near Magha and also near Jeshta Anuradha, and 1 instance for Jupiter near Shravan, how that matches for 5561 BCE. Of course, that's going to raise another question. So, hey, if I'm saying Vakri is not retrograde, but Vakri is only oblique crossing of a planet across the ecliptic, then where are my retrograde motions and where are the retrograde motion descriptions in the Mahabharata text? We will do that as another episode, okay? But please, in the meantime, let me know what you think of it. This was indeed a long kind of extended session. I didn't mean to be. This was not meant to be deliberately turning to like 90 minutes or so, but it is required. Otherwise, people think that I went so fast, they did not understand things. Please give me your feedback. Please be as crisp and as clean as possible in your comments in asking the questions. If you ask the questions in the comment or through emails, now please avoid email. Just ask the question in the comments to the YouTube. And please also write down besides the questions, if that problem is solved or if the answer to that question is found, in what way it benefits. It cannot be just an idle curiosity of yours. If it is, guys, you have to get active to solve it because you know what value it brings to you. If there is no broader value in terms of Indic Renaissance, Indic Revolution, educating us Indians, because of the time constraints, I will not able to entertain those. Thank you very much. And I will see you again into the next session of Shraddha and Pradnya. All righty. And with that, I'll stop the recording.